Welcome to Local Matters. Today we begin with School on Wheels of Massachusetts, serving students in kindergarten through college impacted by homelessness by providing school supplies, one-on-one tutoring, and mentoring. Julie invited founder Cheryl Opper via Zoom to talk about the organization's mission and how they've had to adapt in 2020. Julie?
Welcome, Cheryl. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
It's wonderful to have you. Now, you're the founder of School on Wheels Massachusetts. Can you tell us a little bit about the mission of the organization and what services you provide?
Okay. School on Wheels of Massachusetts provides academic, social, and emotional support for students impacted by homelessness, kindergarten through college in our state.
Okay. Did you start this here, or was this started somewhere else in the country?
I started School on Wheels of Massachusetts in 2004 after reading an article about the program that started in 1993 in Los Angeles, California. And then there's one other program in Indianapolis, Indiana that started in 2001.
Okay. Now, it's called School on Wheels, is it literally on wheels?
Well, the reason why it's called School on Wheels is we go to the children's temporary homes, which are shelters, motels, and we provide academic support services for them. Currently, we also provide, and we have been doing this for a while, is that there's a lot of families that are impacted by homelessness living in transitional apartments. So there might be 2 or 3 families living in an apartment. And because we wouldn't go into their private residence, is that we have learning centers set up at different locations, and then we would pay for the bus transportation to get them there. So there's many different ways that families who are impacted by homelessness are doubled up with other family members or friends. We've had people we have had students that live out of their cars or a tent. And it's just, there's many different ways that you can be homeless.
Right. And I know in this area in Massachusetts, the homeless population is so much more prevalent than people realize.
Absolutely. And the latest statistic is there's 24,000 homeless children in our state of Massachusetts in public schools, K through 12.
That's just uncanny. That's an uncanny figure. That's very disturbing. You've retired. How does it feel to have the School on Wheels grow from what you started to what it is now? And how are you still involved?
Well, I started it in 2004 out of my home in Easton, Massachusetts, and my basement was filled with backpacks and school supplies. We did our tutor trainings around my kitchen table. We started out with 2 shelters, 20 kids a week, gave out maybe 50 backpacks for that year. And, now that's 2004. And now here in 2020, we've given out over 6,000 backpacks. And last year we tutored over 275 kids, and it's grown quite a bit. And I retired a couple of years ago, and since then I've stayed involved. Obviously, I'm going to be their biggest cheerleader forever. These kids are just so amazing, and they need our support, and they're so alone. And most of the families are single moms. Can only imagine the challenges that they're facing, and so I would, I'm still doing the donating backpacks and school supplies and rounding up my friends to do the same. I just had my birthday in August, and instead of asking for birthday or asking people to make a donation of a backpack fully stocked to give to our children, because because of COVID, we lost a lot of our school supply donations that we normally have. So that was just one way that I could stay involved. But I have to say that the staff is absolutely amazing, and everybody's so dedicated to this mission. And it's really our community volunteers and the businesses that really make this possible. It wouldn't be possible without that.
Can you just take me through, like, a student that you get that they're in preschool or kindergarten or first grade? Would you see them all the way through the next years and years and years if they remain in this homeless state in one way or another?
Well, even after you move out of the shelter, our services still continue. So you don't have to stay homeless to continue with our services. Is that once you are in our program, once you're a School on Wheels student, you're always a School on Wheels student. So we have have students who have been with us for long, long periods of time. We've got students who, and families that stay in touch with us. And, if they move, and we have families who are homeless and then they move into housing and then they go back into homelessness and might move into a shelter and then they're back. But if they, want to be a part of our program, we want to continue that. And we have students who have been with us for long periods of time and now are in our college program and getting ready to graduate. And, they started with us in elementary school.
That must be so rewarding to you to see a student that travels like that with you all the way to the end.
Absolutely. And I've been at many college graduations and I've moved lots of college kids in and School on Wheels is a very holistic, hands-on approach. And that's why it's so successful is it's not just a backpack with the scientific calculator. It's the backpack and the tutor and the mentor and the ongoing support that these kids need. And it's all about the relationships and it's really getting involved with every aspect. If they need science project materials, we make sure they get the science project materials. There's so many layers that people really don't understand in regards to the homelessness and what the challenges are that our kids face, and even more so now with the COVID.
Now, with COVID and a lot of students having to learn remotely, how have you adapted the way you have your teachers or your mentors work with these students?
Right. So it's been challenging. We have Alvarium is a foundation that has done a wonderful, provided a wonderful gift to School on Wheels that they did a match for match in regards to Chromebook. We have provided 120 Chromebooks for the children in the shelters, thanks to the Alvarium Foundation and our wonderful donors. And we are setting up online tutoring. We've got that set up and it's going to start this week. The challenges are that not all of the shelters have Wi-Fi service. And so we're trying to, through School on Wheels, make sure that that's set up so that the tutors can do the online tutoring with them. For our tutoring program, we match a student up with a particular tutor. And so they have that one-on-one relationship, and that's really important. But you also have these children have screen fatigue, and they're not just missing, seeing their tutor in person, but that relationship building. It's definitely not the same when you're doing it online. And so we really miss seeing the kids. We miss them terribly, and the tutors do as well. But we're excited that we're able to continue to stay in touch with them during this time.
And what is the Bridge Mentoring Program?
So the Bridge Mentoring Program, the Bridge Program works with students in middle school, all the way through college or a vocational training program. So the Bridge name came because when kids are in school, we are notified through guidance counselors, teachers, through the McKinney-Vento, the homeless liaisons, of which students need support. But once those students graduate high school, they lose that support. They don't have that. And so we bridge that gap for them to make sure that they have what they need and in college applications. And so we match these students up with a mentor that was going to help follow them through this whole process and help them from anywhere from moving the students into the dorm room to helping to negotiate the financial aid package. All of our college students, we have 65 students in college right now, and all of them are living on campus and are able to stay on campus through the holiday breaks, thanks to our wonderful coordinator, Jonathan Vincent, who negotiated that with all the colleges that these kids need a place to have a safe place to stay. And these college students now are able to be on campus and to have that housing stability during this time while they're pursuing their education.
That's terrific. That is just wonderful, and that's a lot more than some of the other college students who are not allowed to remain on campus. So that's a nice safety net for these kids. And how can parents apply for this service?
So it's mostly most of our referrals come from the teachers and the guidance counselors, and there's each of the school districts have a McKinney-Vento homeless liaison. And so it's not really the parents that are applying. The shelter directors that we are partnering with, we have 18 different program sites. those shelter directors will notify us if a new family moves in and the student is in middle school, upper grades of middle school, high school, and that's how we get our referrals. Also, a lot of our referrals, Jonathan said, comes from college students that are in college and meet other students who they start to talk with that are experiencing the same kind of challenges of being homeless or couch surfing. And so it's the peer to peer more so than the parents reaching out to us.
That's wonderful. Cheryl, thank you so much for explaining the School on Wheels program. It's amazing. Everyone will be able to see a lot more information about it through your website. What a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful thing you have done. Thank you so much, especially now. It's so needed. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Back to you, Elizabeth.
Thank you, Julie and Cheryl. To learn more about School on Wheels of Massachusetts, visit sowma.org. On November 18th, Plymouth 400 and the Plymouth Public Library present Pilgrims Progess, music of the colonial settlers from 1590 to 1645. Zoom into a live performance from the ensemble 7 Times Salt, celebrating Plymouth's 400th anniversary with music of the Elizabethan Tavern and Theatre, spirited catches by Thomas Ravenscroft, selections from the Dutch Te Oudement Cabinet, stirring psalms from Sternhold and Hopkins' Whole Book of Psalms, and songs from Playford's The English Dancing Master. You'll also hear fictitious diary entries of the colonists read aloud in the original pronunciation, the English of Shakespeare, Queen Elizabeth I, and the Pilgrims. Registration is required. Visit the Plymouth Public Library website to sign up. Since the onset of the pandemic, Zoom has been an essential way to stay connected to work, family, and friends, but for many of us, Zoom is a kids show from the 70s. On November 17th and 24th, the Duxbury Senior Center is offering Zoom School, a 2-part introductory class. Learn how to set up an account, schedule meetings, and just generally make your way around this now ubiquitous platform of connection. To register for this virtual program, visit the Duxbury Senior Center website. However you're celebrating your holidays this season, gift wrapping will probably be a part of it, right? And while you may be a pro at the art of wrapping with ribbons and bows, have you tried using natural and organic elements like twine, sprigs, and acorns? On November 20th, Plymouth Patuxent's adult programming, Plymouth After Dark, invites you to a fun class on gift wrapping using elements from nature. Visit the Plymouth Patuxent Eventbrite page to find out more. If you're a social distancing senior in Kingston, we have great news. The Kingston Council on Aging has teamed up with the Kingston Public Library to offer home book deliveries. Call the library with the titles you're looking for, and every Tuesday from 5 to 7 p.m., the COA will deliver the books right to your doorstep. As Groucho Marx said, outside of a dog, a book is a man's best friend. Inside of a dog, it's too dark to read. Call the library at 781-585-0517 to make your book reservation. Noted for his post-impressionist paintings conveying not just image, but emotion, Vincent van Gogh is one of the world's most beloved Western artists, and on November 19th, the Plymouth Public Library is hosting a Van Gogh-inspired virtual art class. Join artist Gregory Maychak as he teaches you how to use pastels and drawing to recreate the iconic work of art, Starry Night. Visit plymouthpubliclibrary.org to register and for a list of recommended supplies. Since the beginning of the pandemic, the Museum of Science has teamed up with Boston area musicians to produce Subspace Sessions, a virtual concert experience that is 1 part live music, 1 part state-of-the-art visual effects. On November 19th, the museum continues the series, welcoming Boston native Julie Rhodes to the Charles Hayden Planetarium stage. Hear Julie's soulful Americana paired with a stunning light display inspired by her own musical journey. This free program is open to all. To register, visit the Museum of Science Facebook page. Fiction can speculate on what human beings are capable of, but true crime stories actually show us. On November 18th, the Duxbury Senior Center is hosting You Be the Judge, a virtual event so fun it's criminal. Join along with other crime enthusiasts as Reagan leads a discussion and debate about real-life court cases. Will the defendant be innocent or just plain guilty? It is up to you. Visit the Duxbury Senior Center website to register for your Zoom link. Although staying apart is now necessary, it's also more important than ever for us to come together. On November 19th, the Duxbury Senior Center invites you to a Zoom presentation and discussion on friendship as part of the center's ongoing LGBTQ events program. Meet new friends in the area and check in with some old ones too. To register for your Zoom link, visit duxburyseniorcenter.org. On select dates in November, the Hub Theatre Company of Boston returns to the stage, virtually, to present Shakespeare's famous work, Much Ado About Nothing. With clever wordplay and hilarious mishaps, this classic romantic comedy delves into the trials and tribulations that can happen when people find love in unexpected places. For tickets, visit Hub Theatre's Facebook page. This is a Pay What You Can event. Erica is here to update us on what's happening in the schools.
With rain or snow moving in over the next few months, we wanted to make sure Silver Lake students who are dropped off before the building opens have a dry spot to stand and wait. Check out the new 20 by 40 tent located at the main entrance, and please feel free to take advantage of it or the awning in inclement weather, although we will have to take it down when the wind gets too high. There was no school on Wednesday, November 11th, in observance of Veterans Day. I would like to take this opportunity to honor and thank our local veterans, and especially our Laker alumni in uniform, for their service to our country. Last year, we filmed a presentation honoring our veterans. Let's look at some of the highlights.
Hi, I'm Mrs. Gill, the principal of Silver Lake Regional High School. On behalf of all of us here, I'd like to thank all of our veterans for joining us today and thank them for their service to our country.
I am thankful to have the freedom to be able to play sports because of the brave.
I have freedom to get education because of the brave.
I have freedom to travel the world because of the brave.
I have freedom of economic opportunity because of the brave.
I have freedom of education because of the brave.
I have the freedom for mental health awareness because of the brave.
I have freedom to go to school because of the brave.
I have freedom to bear arms because of the brave.
I have freedom to do what I love because of the brave.
I have the freedom of personal identification because of the brave.
I have freedom from mass shootings because of the brave. I have the freedom for healthcare at any age because of the brave.
I am grateful to have the freedom to live my life any way that I want to because of the brave.
I have freedom to create my own unique art because of the brave.
Our flag does not fly because the wind moves. It flies with the last breath of each soldier who died protecting it.
America's White Table. This table set for one is small, symbolizing the frailty of one prisoner alone. It is set for one, symbolizing the fact that some are missing from our ranks.
The tablecloth is white, symbolic of the purity of their intentions to respond to their country's call to arms. The black napkin represents the sorrow of captivity.
The single red rose in the vase signifies the blood that many shed to ensure the freedom of the United States of America. This rose also reminds us of the family and friends of our missing comrades who keep the faith awaiting their return.
The yellow ribbon on the vase represents the yellow ribbon worn on the lapels of thousands who demand proper accounting of our comrades who are not among us. A slice of lemon on the plate reminds us of their bitter fate.
The salt sprinkled on the plate reminds us of the countless fallen tears of families as they wait. The glass is inverted because they cannot toast with us. The chair is empty because they are not here.
The candle is reminiscent of the light of hope that lives in our hearts to illuminate their way home, away from their captors, to the open arms of a grateful nation.
I'd like to thank my grandfather, Grandpa Venus, for all of his service that he's done. You're great.
I would like to thank my brother and all the veterans for their service.
I would like to thank my grandfather and all the other veterans for their service.
I would like to thank my father and all the other veterans in the audience for everything they've done for our country.
I'm here to thank all veterans for their selfless service to our country and to the world. I'm here specifically to recognize the veterans in my own family. First, my nephew, Zach Alden, a 215 graduate of Middleborough High School who has just completed his 3 years in the U.S. Marines, stationed mostly in Japan, and will return home next month and join the reserves. Second, to my dad, James DePasqua, a retired U.S. Navy reservist who was on the USS Beatty in the late 1960s before I was born. And finally, to my grandfather, William Hammond, age 93, who joined the U.S. Army at age 18 and served during World War II. He was stationed in Germany from 1944 to 1946, serving both the end of the war and in the occupation. And I'd also like to recognize my grandmother on the other side of my family's brother, William Gilman, who also served in World War II and did not come home.
I just wanted to thank my mom for her service and know that every day you were at training, I missed you, but I'm glad you're home for good now.
I'd like to thank my papa for his service and for everything that he's taught me.
I'd like to thank all of our veterans. I most especially would like to thank my father-in-law, Barry Mathias. Thank you for your service, and thank you for everything that you do for our family each and every day. I love you.
I've had several veterans in my life. The first one I thank because he enlisted. During the Vietnam era, as you know, most of the veterans were drafted, but he felt a need to enlist and fight for his country. And also, if you remember the time period, it was when the United States wasn't all that conducive to African Americans. So I thank him for that, and he's still proud of it to this day. The second veteran that I now have in my life, who is his father and is 91, was in between the World War II and Korean conflict. And what he does is he keeps alive the Tuskegee Airmen so they won't be forgotten. Because even within people of color, the history of the Tuskegee Airmen have been cut short or forgotten. The children that have come forward or the students have said, thank you for education, but I also want to thank the veterans because I have freedom of religion.
I would like to take this opportunity to once again thank all of our veterans for being here today, but especially to my favorite veteran, my dad. I love you and thank you for your service.
I am thankful to all of the veterans who have risked their lives to serve our country, and a special thanks to my Uncle Kevin for his sacrifice. On behalf of the Silver Lake community, happy Veterans Day to all.
A person in our Pembroke High School community has tested positive for COVID-19. Our first responsibility is to keep our students and staff safe. The faculty at Pembroke High School have been planning for this scenario during the reopening planning process and have a comprehensive plan in place to sanitize the school, inform families whose students were at risk of exposure or in close contact, and support of the affected family as they navigate this stressful experience. Their student body and staff have been closely adhering to the safety protocols, including mask wearing, hand washing, and physical distancing. We are grateful for our families for their continued efforts to keep students home at the first sight of symptoms. These measures taken in combination greatly reduce the risk of additional transmission. We also want to assure you that the individual that tested positive was not present at school during their infectious period as defined by the CDC. As we approach the holidays and people consider how to gather safely with friends and family, we want to take this opportunity to remind you about Governor Baker's travel order. The travel order urges Massachusetts residents to limit out-of-state travel only to states identified as COVID-19 lower-risk states. For those Massachusetts residents who choose to travel to a non-lower risk state, the governor's travel order requires you must quarantine for 14 days or produce a negative COVID-19 test result that has been given up to 72 hours prior to arriving back in Massachusetts. The test must be from an FDA EUA-approved molecular PCR test. Serology or rapid tests will not be accepted or obtain a PCR test after arrival back in Massachusetts and quarantine until obtaining a negative test. For students who are quarantining to comply with the governor's order, caretakers should inform either school that the student is quarantining so that arrangements can be made for students to complete work at home. We are requesting that students not attend school in person if they have traveled to a non-lower risk state and have not completed their quarantine or received a negative result that meets the guidelines above. Elizabeth, back to you.
Thanks, Erica. Carmellite Chamblin is a Haitian-American poet, short story writer, and essayist whose pastimes include not avoiding eye contact with strangers and discovering new writers at local bookstores. Her first poetry collection is forthcoming in spring of 2021. This is her original work.
Tonight, I will be reading a 5-part poem on grief and coping with loss, dedicated to my father who passed away when I was really young. It's called Requiem for Thanatos, God of Death. 1. Night Owl. You tell me to talk about my sadness, and I tell you it's the way my fingers feel, tracing the scars of my memories, while my eyes ache for forgiveness within. I spend my afternoons on the swing that divides foregone thoughts from reality, as a frozen river cracks beneath this dark long veil and sinks down the hollowed waters where pellets of doubt manifest from the heavens. 2. Genesis. In a star-ridden night, the slanted Swiss cheese moon reeked of loneliness. I folded a piece of paper that said, "Not all losses are losses. Not all sadness deserves to be compensated with physical projections. P.S. Be a little considerate. Some of us have class in the morning." I tied the ever so inconsiderate note to the fishing rod and flung it across space. 3. Time wasn't on his side. I saw a coconut trekking up the steep hill that led to the pottery studio. Sensing my presence, he said, "Peculiar, isn't it, that a coconut can walk, talk, and oddest of all, sign up for a pottery class?" No, not at all. Stranger things have taken these long, steep hills, myself included. For a while we moved in silence. Our existence, I thought, meant very little to the universe. "That you're right," he said, breathing wearily. I noticed the sunken cracks traced along his protrusive shell. But you know, it doesn't mean you should let these thoughts burrow deep in your core, to the point where not even the darkest of all night creatures will dare inhabit. The coconut then noticed his succulent water quenching the thirst of the dried pavement, and before he could finish, he became an empty shell that spoke nothing of his former glory. 4. Silent clockwork. I starved myself in the mirror today, and nothing changed. The vacant parking lot overlooking the deserted street was there. The wheeling greenish pool begging for a brave soul to soak their lungs was there. The cat perched on the mango tree with burnt whiskers who scowled at poor children was there. The children who was deliberately exhausting herself because she mistakenly witnessed her mother's slaying was there. The cherry tree who cried whenever her fruits fell victim to time's ripeness was there. Alice, long forgotten in the dust beneath the bookcase, hoping for a hand to whisk her away, was there. The red iron gate, fathering weeds beneath its dusty feet because the owner never came home once August 12th, 2004, was there. 5. Outro. Dear Dad, I had a dream you were the moon. You were hanging in the night sky because Celine pitied my pleas. You weren't like the other satellites, Dad. It's selfish of me to have asked more of you when it was your time. If you'd wanted to stay with me, you wouldn't have left the way you did, right, Dad? You will have fought harder than Ahab, sheer will. Instead, you chose to be eaten by the infinite void, thereby compromising my ability to be with you, feel with you, laugh with you. I severed your serenity, but dear Dad, I needed you. So I plucked you from your peaceful void, warped the fabric of reality. And here you are, existing in the night sky, an extension of me.
Thank you, Carmellite, and thank you for staying with us for this episode of Local Matters. We're committed to shining a light on the places, resources, and people of this community where every person's story is equally important, regardless of where you come from, who you love, or who you voted for. From all of us at PAC TV, have a happy and safe week. We'll see you next time.